Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Alex's Afternoon Art Show. This is going to be our last one of the year, I believe, and this is our Christmas episode. So yeah, there's that. We're doing Batman and Superman. A little fun little Christmas thing. This will release, I believe, on Christmas Eve. So yeah, happy Christmas, I think. And yeah, so today we're just gonna do a little simple, just Batman and Superman, a little bit of a background, some snow, some light snow, some kind of just a little nice little thing to round out the year. Because, yeah, I don't think I'm going to bother doing any more of these for the rest of the year. There's only going to be one more week of this year after this video releases. So, yeah, that'll be New Year's that week. So, yeah. Realistically, I'll probably take that week off of doing these because, dear God, I've been doing a lot of them recently because I record these in bulk. So yeah, I don't think I have any specific topics here to cover today. I suppose I'll be touching on posing a little bit, probably. Again, like the last one, there's no particular topics. There'll be a few things I'm going to be going into. I mean, I think this is the first, like, smaller drawing which I've done, which has multiple characters in it. Yeah, so I might maybe talk about kind of like spacing and stuff like that. But yeah, largely this is a pretty basic one. All things considered, I'm only going to be really covering, and just going to be kind of walking you through the process that I normally do, but with some bits and pieces of little new stuff, I guess. So yeah. I'll roll the intro and then I'll show you what I got. Okay, so this is what we are working with currently. So we got pretty basic, pretty simple poses. I just had they've both got their arms folded, and if you remember, if you watched the gliding Batman drawing that I did around Halloween. I showed off the way that I draw my Batman, which is largely I tend to have Batman he's still really buff, but he's a little bit more slim, because that's kind of normally how I think of it. He's a ninja. He's supposed to be kind of more acrobatic, so he should kind of be slim, a little slimmer, which kind of emphasizes his height, I think. Here I think I've given him, I think the ears that I've given him on the batsuit here are significantly longer than I'd normally do, but I feel like I need to emphasize the height of these things here. And I haven't really drawn Superman in a very long time on this show. I think he was one of the first ones which I did was Superman, but I haven't done a Superman since then. But yeah, I tend to draw my Superman to be real big, but kind of broad, and like big and thick tends to be how I do my Superman. So he's got giant arms, big giant shoulders, and his shoulders kind of immediately comes into his neck. He's not got a very long neck. It's mostly shoulders. That kind of just absorbs his neck, and again he's got this very kind of thick, chunky body. Which yeah, because he's a farmer. he's gonna have a big, stocky body. Is generally how I envision it. I don't tend to think of Superman as having like a bodybuilder physique. I tend to think of it more so as him having a kind of a big, bulky, kind of broad body, which is again like kind of, it still needs to be very showy muscle, which isn't necessarily practical muscle. But I tend to try and envision Superman as having more practical muscle, but it still has to look kind of showy. So he still needs to be shredded, he still needs to have all this kind of like ab lining, all this stuff. It all still needs to be there. All this kind of extra musculature along the sides of the arms. All this stuff it's still gonna be there because it still needs to look very, it still needs to look a certain way. But yeah, that's kind of how I tend to envision Superman, is having the kind of the bigger, bulkier body. And then yeah, Batman as being a little slimmer. But obviously he looks a lot wider whenever you add stuff like the cape. The cape kind of accentuates his shape and features a little bit more. And I always nowadays at least, I tend to draw Batman with the triangle eyes. And I suppose we'll be beginning with Batman. I'm going to need to probably do something about some of Superman's features here, because I've maybe made him a little too like, a thing which can happen sometimes is that whenever you're detailing, on a face in particular, the more details you add, the older someone's going to look. So if you add too many details to someone's face, they're going to look old. And I think that's kind of what's happened here, so I'll need to be a little bit more... I'll need to assess some stuff as to what I can remove here from Superman's face. Maybe the cheekbones, maybe the forehead lines. Some of these things I can probably remove. I gave him crow's feet because he's obviously smiley. That's kind of the idea, is that he's a very smiley man. So he'd probably have like a little bit of crow's feet going on, but I don't know. Maybe I'll remove them. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see what I do with Superman's face. But I think we're going to be starting with Batman. And yeah, I have given Batman like a slight smile, a little smirk, because I generally do, I mean, Batman's generally not going to be quite as smiley as Superman is. But I think I'm going to make a few adjustments to his face here. His face is looking a little odd shaped. So I might need to alter the shape of his face a little bit here along this side specifically. And yeah, I normally give Batman the triangle eyes, but here, because this is a lower angle, they're kind of looking a bit weird. So I might need to adjust this shape a little bit and see what I can do about that. The bat symbol's getting kind of covered by the cape, which is fine. It'd be the same color, so it, like, again, color-wise, these are going to be reasonably easy because Batman's only got 3 colors. He's got the black, he's got his grey, and then he's got his gold for the belt, and he's also got his skin color, obviously. But and then with Superman, it's just his red for his all this stuff, and then his blue, and then his yellow. That's it really with Superman. It's kind of the same sort of deal. But Superman's cape is kind of coming down and covering a little bit more here. I'm probably gonna have to color. What the hell? Oh, I missed. That's what happened. I'm probably gonna have to turn off Superman while I'm doing Batman for some bits. So you might see little bits of flashing as I'm going. But I'm also going to do a little bit of a background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have little bits of the building shapes. I'm going to do the erasing up thing as I normally do. But here the building shapes are going to be black, and there's going to be a kind of a red hue to the sky over here, and then there's going to be a kind of the buildings over here are going to be white. There's going to be more of a blue hue to the sky over here. But there's still going to be snow kind of dotted around the background and stuff like this, and I'm probably going to have to do multiple shapes of snow and stuff like that, maybe a little bit of a white haze. Not quite as intense as we did in the Weapon X one, because that's obviously supposed to be like kind of whiteout weather. That's not what we're dealing with here. We're dealing with pleasant snow. We're dealing with pleasant snow. And obviously the buildings on this side are going to be more pointed and angular, because we're dealing more with Gotham, and then on this side we're dealing with Metropolis, so more rounded, more smooth kind of shapes here. So that's generally the idea of what I'm going for here. Simple, not too crazy. That'll be our background. It's just simple, kind of jagged shapes, simple rounded shapes. That's it really. Erase up, black, white, red, blue. That's it. That's it really for the background. The background's not going to be crazy complicated. I'll probably do the background after I've done the details. Now the question is, I don't know how I'm going to break this up. I'm thinking to myself, oh, I'll do the details over the whole thing and then come back. But I also think that might be a lot. So we'll see. If I do the details on Batman and that takes long enough, I might come back just to break some stuff down and see what I've changed, see stuff like that, because there'll be a few adjustments which I need to make on Batman's face. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. I might come back after Batman, or I might keep going into Superman, just to kind of adjust some stuff, just to talk about what I've changed. So yeah, I think that's enough preamble for now. I think I will just begin, and then I suppose I'll be back at some point. So yeah. Okay, so it is now the following day. I did all my details and everything, and then I said, you know what, probably be best if I leave the rest of this for tomorrow, i.e., now today. So I will finish up all my colors and background stuff because realistically speaking, so the first chunk of this took me 3 hours, i.e., the details on both characters, but that's because we're dealing with two characters. If we were only doing one character, I definitely could have easily gotten that done in the one day. But yeah, naturally we're dealing with two, so that part took me a little longer. It took me literally twice as long. But yeah, so now I'm going to do my colors. But first I wanted to touch on a few of the things which I changed. Now I did make a few minor adjustments to certain things like Batman's face, which I said I would do before. I changed the shape of his eyes a little bit because I felt like the shape that they were in before was a little not right. He's still got this sort of vague ear shape because that kind of needs to be there to shape his jaw a little better. I let his ears still be kind of messy. Like a lot of the lines here that I've been doing just recently, I've been doing a lot of very hairy lines. And it's mostly just because of laziness. And also the fact that a lot of these art videos recently have been taking me a hell of a long time, so I just say screw it. Up to a certain point, I need to get things. I need to get on with it. So I need to kind of leave some of the hairy lines in and just let it be kind of messy. I made Batman's chin very big, but again, because as I mentioned before, proportionally speaking, Batman is a little slimmer than Superman. Batman's obviously a little slimmer, Superman's much more burly. I kind of gave Superman a bit of a wider head. He's got a very wide jaw, and then this kind of extra kind of forward dumpy kind of chin. And yeah, with Superman I removed a lot of the extra details from his face because I was like, I think he should look a little smoother, a little cleaner. So he's got these kind of little kind of lines at the side, which he should have because he's smiling. And then obviously the more intense smile lines here. I made his eyes a little rounder because it looks a little, it makes his eyes look a little softer, as opposed to the kind of hard edges that kind of tends to. Well, it makes it a little less. Whenever you're doing, I suppose, smiling eyes, you don't want them to be quite as hard shaped because that'll look like a kinder eye. It's not necessarily accurate to how it actually looks, but it tricks your eyes a little bit into thinking, oh, that's a bit of a more relaxed expression. So that's the idea. There's little bits of these details, like obviously their symbols kind of curving and stuff like that, which is obviously necessary based on the way that they have their arms, because they're flexing their arm, because they're folding their arms. That means their chest is folding a little bit inward, meaning that the symbol on their chest isn't flat. Where normally with Batman in particular, I wouldn't put any definition on in the middle of his chest because the symbol should be fully black. Here it kind of needs to be there because it's got to emphasize the fact that his chest is coming in. Same as Superman. I would normally not detail much over the symbol, but here, because his chest is folding inwards, it needs to be there. What other stuff should I alter? There was one. Oh yeah. I didn't give Batman his arm spikes because I feel like it would be difficult to find a place for them here. Because he's supposed to be folding his arms, that would mean that his arm would need to be much more out like that in order for the spikes to like come away from his arm. He'd need to be folding his arms in a bit of an awkward position of where he'd have to have like an arm up like that and then the other arm directly down, because that's the only way that the spikes wouldn't interact in an awkward way. So I just said, screw it, they don't need to be there for this, just remove them for the sake of making my life easier. Yeah, I think that's all I really needed to say as kind of extra stuff. Batman's still got these little lines on his suit, which Superman doesn't have, because I feel like Superman's suit should look a little simpler, whereas Batman's suit, I think, even though it should remain simple looking, should have a degree of like techiness to it, I suppose, is the best way I can think about it. That it's maybe a little bit more practically built, whereas Superman's suit looks a little bit more kind of like strongman wear, because that's generally the kind of proportions that I've given him here, is that he's got the body of a strongman. He's got a big burly body. So the kind of costume should look a little bit more like a strongman, is kind of what I've gone for. Whereas with Batman, it's slightly more detailed in that sense of where it's supposed to look a little bit more. It's supposed to look a little bit more. As soon as my brain catches up, it's supposed to look a little bit more technological, I guess. But I don't want to also make it like give it a bunch of patterns and designs and stuff on it. I just want to have a little line, a little seam, which makes you think it looks a little bit more practical, even though it doesn't really do anything. He's still got the underpants, because, you know, I'm not a coward. I'm not a coward who removes Batman's underpants. It helps a lot with the color balance as well. It's the same with Superman. Yeah, getting rid of the underpants, it just kind of screws up the color balance. It needs to be there. For like a practical reason, practical artistic reason, it kind of needs to be there, if only for that. And also it completes the design. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's all the little stuff I needed to go over beforehand. I'll probably do the background. God, when will I do the background? I don't know when I'll do the background. I might do the background during this colors section, because the colors shouldn't really take me very long, because there aren't many of them, really. So I'll probably do the colors at some point during this. Batman will probably be a little paler. Superman will probably have a little bit of a fuller complexion, is generally probably what I'll go for here. But yeah, realistically speaking, I think that's all I need to go over before I actually start doing the colors. So I will do that. I'll do the colors now, and then I'll probably do the what do you call them during this section as well, the background bits. Okay. Okay, so that is our colors and our background done. So I think that's the kind of, well, not the whole background. I'm going to be adding a few bits and pieces later. I'm going to add in some, obviously we're putting in the snow, and I'm going to put a little haze over the sky. Something like that. Something just so that it kind of fills it out a little bit more, probably going to put more grayish over here, more whitish over here. It's probably what I'm going to lean on. And that will kind of create our sky, sort of, is what we're going for. There'll be a bit of a blend, because I'll have to use a paintbrush for that, but I'll have to blend that. I'll probably do that during this section. So we're going to be going into the paints now, which on some of this shouldn't take too long. I'm actually going to probably change this black on Batman to make it darker, and that way I won't paint over it. I'll just then do the detailed shading on it. That'll be all I'll do with that. But yeah, I'm gonna have to paint all over Superman. I'm gonna have to paint most of Batman. But yeah, so realistically, this might not take too long. Might be quick enough doing the paints. I'll do my sky and everything during this sequence of events. So yeah, I decided. Yeah, as I said before, Gotham obviously is very kind of pointed and jagged, and so all these little bridges and little buttresses and all this stuff on its buildings, which make it look kind of castle-y. It's got this, got like wires moving across the sky and all this stuff. Whereas in Metropolis, things are a little bit more rounded, a little bit more Art Deco. But they've still got the bridges and stuff going between buildings, but it's a lot more uniform, a lot more clean in shape. But that's kind of the general idea of what I go for with those two cities. They're both very high-rise. This part of Metropolis, which I've shown here, isn't quite as high-rise as Gotham, but Gotham also goes really low. This is the thing, there's more of a gulf here between big and small, whereas with Metropolis it's much more uniform in its kind of height. But yeah, so I did my little erasing trick as well, where I just do the thing, erase up a little bit, and then now it looks like it's kind of fading into the background a little bit. That's all there is to it. But yeah, so I will do my painted shading, and I'll be back to do the detailed shading. Okay. Okay, so that is our painted shading done, and the sky. So the sky here is a bit of a dueling thing of kind of a cloudy white and then a milky white kind of snowy sky, the kind of grey white you kind of get normally, and then yeah, the heavy kind of dark kind of really black clouds that you get over Gotham, mixed in with a little bit of a kind of a snowy idea again. So I'm thinking that whatever we do with our gradient maps at the end here, they're going to need to be dark, because we're going to need to really emphasize the kind of hefty shadow that is being kind of the like winter darkness that you get. And I'm thinking that the sky currently looks a bit weird, but I'm assuming that will... I'm curious, I'm going to turn this off for a second. No, that doesn't help. That definitely doesn't help. We definitely want the darker over here and the lighter over here. Yeah, it doesn't do much good for us. But yeah, I was thinking to myself though, it'll probably look better once the snow is on, because that'll obscure a lot of stuff. So we'll see, I suppose. Oh, there was lights which I meant to put in over Gotham. And there was lights which I meant to put in here, which might help matters a little bit. So I'm going to need my lasso tool. Just do one of these. Actually, I probably just want to do that. Yeah, and just... Yeah, made a boo-boo there. So I'm going to need to do something like that, and that. Then I will put... This probably works. Put something like that in there. It probably should have gone all the way up, actually. Let's just do that, where it goes all the way off screen. and then comes back down into that, and just maybe another one like that going over his shoulder. So this should work, just doing that. And now what do I need to do here? I need to change what kind of layer we're dealing with here, I think. I forget how exactly I did this. If memory serves, what I need to do is I need to... Oh god, I need to grab one of my brushes again. I need to grab one of these watercolor brushes. I'm going to need to do this, I believe. That's certainly not it. It needs to be much softer if it's going to go down like that. I think this is normally how I do this. There is a trick to this, if I remember correctly. Now, I don't know how exactly that's looking currently. Because we want it to kind of bleed out into the sky. We don't want it to be fully kind of visible in that respect. We don't want to see the full cone, so to speak. So that kind of does it. Now, if memory serves, one of the things that you do is you create a duplicate like that. Then this one, is it the one below or above? Oh god, I don't remember now. You do Gaussian blur. Make it like that. So it's got effectively... Does it make any difference if it's above or below? Not really. We can make this an overlay then. And put it below? No. I want it over. Or no. No, below I think works better. Works just as well. It's below. And so then I can start adjusting that. Do I want it to be full? I think I want it to be full. So now you've got those nice little red lights, well, warm lights blasting out into the sky there, which will disappear a little bit with the snow. But we just want the kind of idea of that, and that should do it more or less. That kind of emphasizes our big wire here as well. We don't need anything like that over Metropolis. Metropolis is fine as is, I think. I think that's more or less all we wanted for our background bits, but yeah, now I can switch these back to my normal brushes. And then, yeah, that should do for that. That was the only thing which I'd kind of forgotten to do, really, of my my background bits as of yet. Was yeah, give the background of Gotham a little bit more going on to it. Yeah, I think largely once the snow comes in, that should kind of help matters a little bit. We'll see. I might do a few little extra bits over here. I might find something to put here. I might put like a little ball there so that it's like the Daily Planet, something like that. Some sort of idea, anyways, to get across that there's a little bit more going on over there. But yeah. So I'll be back once I have done the detail shading. Okay, and I'll do the light lines as well, and then I'll come back. Now I'll just do the snow and stuff in this section. I'll just throw that in here as well. May as well just make my life a little bit easier. I was thinking about doing the double texture thing, but I don't think there's actually any need to do it because of just how much texture there is on the background already just from the sky stuff. So I think one texture should do us. But yeah, it's getting dark now, so I'll probably have to take a break here for a bit. But yeah, I'll be back once I've done the detailed shading of both characters, the light lines, and the snow. And we're basically done. So yeah. Okay, that is us basically done. So I did all the snow. I considered adding some motion blur to it, but I felt like it was a little unnecessary. It kind of just made things a little too messy. I think motion blur generally would work if I had less snow going on, but there's obviously heavy snow, so the amount of snow doesn't really work with the motion blur so much. So if I had like significantly less going on, it would maybe look a little better with the motion blur, because there it'd be kind of blurring across the screen a little bit better. But as it stands, it's all a bit too messy whenever that is added on top. But yeah, I think that looks okay. So now we got to do our gradient maps. So I think I'm going to have a lot of different bits on this gradient map, most likely. So for, I think all our darker colors we're going to want to be Batman's colors. All our lighter colors we're going to want to be Superman colors. So for example, we're going to get the kind of a pinky purpley color for our darkest dark. And then for our lightest light, we're going to want it to be a bit of a colder blue, because it'll be one of the colors on Superman's side. That's what I mean, not specifically one of their colors, but one of the colors on their side. Then here I think this is going to need to be a 4-toner. We're going to want to make this low. We're going to want to make it blue. We're going to make it here something like this. So we're going to want this to be pretty dark, all in all. And then this one will be here, and it will be here. Like that. That looks okay. Tell you what I'll do. I'll make this one much redder. And I'll do the same here. I'll bring this up a lot more. We don't want to lose a lot of those tones. And then as such, I will make this one a little greener, I suppose, that way. And then vice versa. And by proxy do that there. Yeah, that sort of works, I think. Right, now let's have a look at this in overlay. Right, it definitely makes it darker, which is what we wanted. Let's have a look at it in soft light. Yep, okay, that's a lot better. And 60%. Yeah, that makes it colder and darker, which is what I wanted. So definitely, I mean, look at Batman. Batman starts like really kind of bleeding into the background there, which is generally what you want out of Batman. You want Batman to kind of bleed into the background. You want Superman to really pop. So Superman's reds and blues kind of really stick out there now. And Batman's colors all kind of bleed a little bit more into his side of the screen. So again, we're getting what we want out of this, more or less. Right, so let's start making our other ones. Start making our duplicates. So we're going to want luminosity, make it 20%. So that way it kind of adds a little bit more depth to the colors. That way the luminosity layer, I find, gives things a nice kind of a wash of just kind of dark. That also preserves some of the original colors a little bit better. And then a color burn is a nice way of just kind of really blasting it a little bit more with that last little wash of those color burn is a good way, I think, of kind of just giving it a nice little last push of the of our gradient maps tones. Yeah, brain fought me a little bit there, because yeah, look, it makes things a lot bluer over here, a lot more purpley over here. So this is the thing, our red here for the sky is now significantly more purpley, because I mean, turn those off, it's really red. And then with it on, it's now really purpley. And yeah, so Batman, also the inside of Batman's cape, which I prefer to be purple, is now really dark, which is what we want. We don't want it to be that obviously purple. We just want it to be enough so that it can kind of frame the outside of him. And with Superman, I mean, it's the same as the rest of his red, it's just darker. And yeah, so now let me have a look at something which I want to check. Yep, we got it right. So a thing which I did in the Weapon X one, which I brought up, was the fact that with the way that we did the gradient maps, it effectively added the edges of the snow had like a bluey tinge to them, which looks very nice, I think. I think I like how that looks. All the snow has this kind of like bluey tinge to the outside of it, which does, I think it does a good job of making it look like actual snow, because on snow in daylight. In daylight, you normally get this more so than at nighttime. But in daylight, you'd get this kind of like slight bluey haze to it, just whichever way light hits snow. On the shadow of snow, not necessarily a snowflake, but on the shadow of snow, you'll get that kind of, it'll look very blue. More so than obviously just looking like grey. It'll look blue. And so that's what you get here, where whenever we zoom in to our snowflakes, our individual bits of snow, we get that sort of bluey bit on the edges of it. That sort of, yeah, like soft bluiness, which I think it does a good job of kind of dispersing things a little bit nicely. But yeah, that is our gradient maps. We've got everything we want out of those, and now I will grab my texture, which should bring things together in a nice little way, just to kind of give everything a last little bit of texture. And this should do it. Right, let me have a look here. We will cover our canvas with the texture. We will set it to an overlay layer, and we will bring it up to about 25%. We don't want it to be intense, because again, the texture hits a lot of our tones in very particular ways. It lightens everything up very much, because that's just kind of how the texture is. It just generally lightens things up a lot. And again, it hits this side much more subtly, because that side is already really light. But it does a lot of work for our clouds and our sky. Generally, especially for this middle section here, it really kind of adds that nice wash to it of things looking, of the kind of blending of the two different types of clouds, of where it kind of blends from the white clouds into the grey clouds, which I think looks very nice. But yeah, that is us basically. So yeah, that is our last one of the year. There won't be another art video for the rest of the year. I mean, this is going to be releasing on Christmas Eve. So yeah, this will be the last one I do this year, because the week after this is New Year's Eve. So I mean, I'm not going to bother doing another art video for the rest of the year. Yes, that's how I'm phrasing it. I'm not going to bother. But yeah, I feel like I kind of want to take a tiny little break from doing these, because I've been doing a lot of them for the last part of the year. I mean, this year alone, we got the Marvel vs. Capcom 2 mural finished, and that was 56 episodes. So there was quite a few of those. 57, I think. Yeah, 57, because the finale as well. That was 57 individual episodes, which stretched over the entire year. Started from the middle of last year and then went to the middle of this year. But yeah, in the latter chunk of the year, I've gotten like 10 of these done, 10, 15, something like that. I've got quite a few of them done. I haven't missed a week in a while. So yeah, I feel like I want to take a tiny little bit of a break from doing them. And yeah, I think we went out with a nice one. This is one which I think is a lot of fun. It's a nice little, just a little kind of Christmassy one, a little bit of a seasonal drawing, because again, I did the Halloween ones, which were fun as well. There's 4 of those, 4 vaguely Halloween adjacent drawings, which did a nice job, I think, of just kind of covering that season. That's the same thing here, where, well, not really, I haven't really done many of these which cover the season, so to speak, but I've done ones which sort of fit. Like this one's the only real seasonal one I've done of this part of the year. But yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't need to ramble too much longer. That's 3 hours just on today's sitting alone. But yeah. This was an enjoyable one. I did actually quite enjoy doing this. It's just a nice little fun one to do, which just kind of is a nice way of closing out the year. Yeah, I feel like just from the start of this year's drawings to the end of this year's drawings, you can see a notable improvement, I think. In the amount of effort that has gone into these, if not in the actual quality, certainly in the amount of effort. But yeah, I think that is us more or less. So yeah, I will wrap up, and then I will say goodbye to you. So, if you like the video, do whatever it is that you normally do, whether that be liking it or not. I would of course prefer if you liked it, but I can't make you do that. So, all I can do is ask and hope that you consider it. same deal. If you want to subscribe, I would of course prefer if you did that, but I can't make you do it. Again, of course, I prefer if you did, but I can't make you. So yeah. God, my brain is fighting me now. I'm tired. And yeah, I mean, you know where the subscribe button is, so I don't need to tell you where. I don't need to tell you where it is. But yeah. I'm really just not having it. My brain is not having it. It's fighting me desperately now. But yeah, if you choose to watch the next video, I will see you next time. However, that may be a couple of weeks. But with all that said, I will say goodbye. I will say a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, because I don't think I'll be seeing you again until after the New Year. But yeah, have a nice Christmas, have a nice New Year, and bye-bye.